You ever watched a horror movie where the rules are so twisted and the monsters so perfectly designed that no amount of horror movie savvy, physical fitness, or luck would ever save you from your inevitable, gruesome death? Well, if you've ever been cocky and thought, I'd survive that while watching a horror movie, you should hit the like button and subscribe, because these are 8 horror movies you have zero chance surviving. Let's start with The Mist, where both monsters and people will ruin your day faster than finding out your favorite horror series got canceled after a cliffhanger. So picture this, you're trapped in a supermarket while a weird, thick fog covers everything outside. Sounds manageable, right? Maybe just wait it out while munching on some chips from aisle 3. Well, that plan falls apart real quick when tentacles start grabbing people who step outside. Here's the thing about The Mist's monsters. They're basically what would happen if H.P. Lovecraft designed a zoo while high on meth. These creatures don't follow any rules you understand. Some have tentacles, others look like prehistoric flying nightmares, and the spider things, they don't just kill you. They cocoon you and lay eggs inside of you. Yeah, I know, suddenly that spider in your bathroom doesn't seem so bad now, does it? What makes these monsters truly impossible to survive is that you have no idea what their abilities or weaknesses are. Each new creature introduces a whole new set of what the hell is that? And just when you think you understand one threat, something bigger and worse shows up. There's a multi-story monster just casually strolling through town. Your little pocket knife and I took self-defense class skills aren't gonna cut it here, buddy. Sure, you might think, I just hide in the supermarket until help arrives. Great plan, except for 2 problems. First, you're stuck with limited supplies that are dwindling fast, especially when new survivors keep showing up. Hope you like fighting over that last can of beans with that weird guy who keeps eyeballing the Twinkies like they're gold bars. Second, and way worse, is what happens to people in crisis mode. Remember that old lady who reminds you of your grandma? Well, now she's convinced God wants human sacrifices, and half the store is nodding along because, hey, why not? The scariest part of The Mist isn't even the monsters. It's how quickly normal people turn into murderous cultists. Mrs. Carmody goes from slightly annoying religious lady to burn the non-believers faster than you can say, yeah, that escalated quickly. Think about it. Even if you somehow avoid being monster food, you might end up as a human sacrifice because Karen from accounting decided the apocalypse was the perfect time for a career change to a cult leader. And the really twisted part, in this scenario, the cult might actually outlast the rational people. The military does eventually show up with flamethrowers to handle the monsters, but by then, most people are already dead, either killed by creatures or each other. And if you're like David, the main character, you might just make the worst decision possible right before rescue arrives. But hey, if giant monsters, limited supplies, and murderous cults sound like a fun Friday night for you, maybe you'd fare better in a town where the monsters look just like us, until they smile. The monsters in The Mist are terrifying, but at least you can see them coming. Our next horror scenario doesn't even give you that small comfort because these monsters wear human faces and only show their true form right before they rip your tongue out. Let's talk about From, a TV show where the whole town becomes a supernatural death trap. Imagine driving down a road with your family, seeing a fallen tree, taking a detour, and suddenly you can never leave. Every road loops back to the town. Like when you keep ending up on the same 3 recommended videos, no matter how many times you hit not interested on YouTube. The most terrifying part? Well, the creatures only come out at night. During the day, the town almost seems normal, but when the sun sets, these things emerge from the forest. They look completely human. Normal clothes, normal faces, except for that creepy frozen smile. You'd probably think you'd recognize them right away, but that's the exact problem. They look so human, they can trick you. Want to know the worst part? These smilers can mimic voices of people you know. Imagine hearing your mom calling for help from outside, or your kid crying. Your brain knows the rules. Don't open the door after dark. But your heart? That's a different story. One moment of weakness, one door unlocked, and that's it. And don't think your gun collection will save you. These things shrug off bullets like they're spitballs. The only protection is these special talismans that keep them out of buildings. There's no science behind it. It's just magic rocks work. Don't ask questions. But if you miss one window or forget to put a talisman on a door, everyone dies. I don't know about you, but I can't even remember if I locked my front door half the time. So I'd be monster food by day 3. Then there's the town itself, which might actually be alive or controlled by some entity. It messes with your head, gives you personalized nightmares, and visions designed to break you mentally. The town is basically that one cousin who remembers every single embarrassing thing you've ever done and then brings that up when you bring your new girlfriend home for Thanksgiving. So basically, soul-crushing terror. There are these mysterious symbols everyone sees and faraway trees that might be portals, offering just enough hope to keep you going. But it's like the town is playing a sick game, dangling escape in front of you while changing the rules. Oh, you figured out the symbols? Cool. Now they mean something else entirely. Have fun. The real kicker is how the town manipulates time and space. Electricity works without a source. Food appears when needed sometimes. People have been trapped there for different amounts of time. Some for decades, some just arrived. One character, Victor, has been there since he was a kid and witnessed a massacre, but now he's middle-aged and trapped there still. The town doesn't just want to kill you, it wants to watch you lose your mind first, like a cat playing with a mouse before the final pounce. But if creepy smiling monsters in a sentient town aren't enough to keep you up at night, wait till you hear about a doll that brings a demon into your home without even having the decency to look scary first. Our next nightmare takes something as innocent as a children's toy and turns it into a doorway for evil that you can't escape no matter how far you run. Let's talk about Annabelle, the creepy doll that's basically the worst housewarming gift ever. Right off the bat, I need to clear something up. The actual doll in real life is a Raggedy Ann doll, not this nightmare fuel porcelain thing from the movie. They changed it for the film because even Hollywood knows some things are too scary for the big screen, like my internet search history. Here's where most people get Annabelle wrong. The doll itself isn't possessed. It's a conduit for a demon. It's a fancy way of saying it's like a doorway the demon uses to get into your world. This is what makes Annabelle impossible to survive. You're not fighting a creepy doll you could just toss in a wood chipper. You're up against a powerful demon that's just using the doll like I use DoorDash when I'm too lazy to cook. So think you could just throw the doll away? Well, John and Mia tried that in the movie. Guess what happened? The doll shows up back in their moving boxes like that one ex who can't take a hint. Moving to a new house doesn't work either because the demon has already latched onto the family, not the location. It's like trying to outrun your terrible credit score. That bitch is gonna follow you everywhere. The psychological warfare is what really gets you. The demon doesn't just jump out and say boo. It subtly makes you question your sanity. Strange noises when you're alone, things moving slightly, rocking chairs, rocking with nobody in them. It's like when you put something down and can't find it 2 seconds later, except instead of keys, it's your grip on reality. What makes this even worse is that nobody believes you at first. The demon is smart. It mostly shows itself when you're alone, so everyone thinks you're losing it. By the time others start seeing it too, you're already halfway to crazy town. I mean, I already talked to my toaster when my morning bagel gets stuck. Imagine what a week with Annabelle would do to me. Even religious protections don't fully work. When Father Perez tries to take the doll to safety, he gets brutally attacked. So much for the power of prayer, huh? Not even the people whose literal job is fighting demons can handle this thing easily. The scariest part is how ordinary everything seems at first. The demon isn't some monster jumping out of the closet. It's the subtle feeling that something's off in your own home. The place that should be your safe haven becomes the danger zone. In the end, the only thing that stopped the demon in the movie was an extreme sacrifice. Someone literally had to die. I don't know about you, but potential human sacrifice required isn't mentioned in any home security system I've ever seen advertised. So I ain't surviving that, and you ain't either. But if a demon using a doll as a supernatural doorway sounds bad, wait until you hear about a vengeful ghost that can literally appear anywhere there's a shadow, because nothing says sweet dreams like knowing darkness itself is out to get you. For our next nightmare, the threat is something you can't escape because it literally follows you into the darkness, and nobody can keep the lights on forever. Let's dive into Lights Out, the movie that ruins the dark for you worse than that time you stepped on a Lego at 3 a.m. when trying to go pee in the middle of the night. The premise is super simple. When lights are on, you're safe. When lights are off, a shadow monster named Diana comes to kill you. Sounds easy enough to handle, right? Just keep the lights on. Well, if surviving horror movies was that easy, I'd be out of content and back to making videos about cats. Thing is, Diana isn't just some spooky ghost that hangs onto one haunted house. She can appear in any darkness, anywhere. Think about how many shadows exist in your daily life. That dark corner in your bedroom, Diana territory. Under your desk, that's Diana's vacation home. Your closet, well, Diana's got a timeshare there. Now consider how unreliable light sources actually are. Batteries die, bulbs burn out, power goes out during storms. Heck, Diana can even cause electrical problems herself. You ever try to navigate your whole life without encountering darkness? It's impossible unless you're willing to sleep with industrial floodlights pointed at your face. And even I'm not that desperate to avoid my nightmares. What makes Diana extra tricky is her connection to Sophie's mental illness. Diana isn't some random ghost. She's tied to depression, literally feeding off it and preventing recovery. So now you're not just fighting a monster, you're fighting mental illness too. And boy, do I know almost everyone under the age of 35 is getting screwed by depression right now. None of y'all are surviving Diana. Even if you figure out Diana's weakness, exploiting it is another story. In one scene, Rebecca uses a black light to make Diana visible and vulnerable, but that's a very specific solution you need to stumble upon. I don't know about you, but in my emergency monster fighting kit, I don't have any UV lights. Mine just has a baseball bat and a deeply unrealistic sense of confidence. The most disturbing part of Lights Out is the solution they eventually find. Spoiler alert, Sophie, the mom, realizes that Diana exists through her, so she ends herself to save everyone. That's not exactly a survival strategy most of us would consider. Hey, good news, I figured how to defeat the monster. Bad news, one of us has to die. Not exactly the pep talk I'm looking for right before trying to beat a big bad monster in a horror movie. Think about it. Diana turns the most basic human need, the comfort of darkness for sleep, into a death trap. Even if you manage to surround yourself with backup generators and emergency lights, you'd eventually collapse from exhaustion. We literally need darkness to function as humans. We need it to sleep. It's like a monster that attacks whenever you believe. Technically avoidable, but not for very long. So next time you're afraid of the dark, remember, it could be worse. Diana could be real, or even worse, you could be in our next horror scenario, where the simple act of screaming in terror becomes the very thing that seals your fate. A movie that'll make you think twice about those innocent-looking ventriloquist dummies collecting dust in your grandma's attic. The whole thing centers around Mary Shaw, a ventriloquist who was murdered by townsfolk who cut off her tongue. Now her ghost is back for revenge with one simple rule: beware the stare of Mary Shaw. She had no children, only dolls, and if you see her, do not scream or she'll rip your tongue out at the seam. It's not exactly roses are red, violets are blue, but it does get the point across. Here's the thing, her curse is literally impossible to beat because it exploits an involuntary human reaction. When you're terrified, you scream. It's hardwired into us. It's like telling someone, whatever you do, don't blink, and then throwing sand in their eyes. Hell, I would be so screwed because if you didn't know, I have Tourette's where I just make random fucking noises in my room. I'll be like, ah! And that's just like an average Tuesday for me. It's not exactly that insane, but you get what I'm trying to say. It's impossible for me to be quiet. I'm done for. And if you have to sneeze, you have to cough, you fart. I know some of you probably rank farts. You're screwed. She's coming after you. We're not surviving this, guys. There's no debate. The second you see her ghostly appearance or one of her creepy dolls moving on its own, you're going to scream. Game over, tongue gone. You've become the latest addition to her photo album of victims. What makes it worse is that Mary Shaw has over 100 hand-made ventriloquist dummies that she calls her children. That means there are more than 100 potential ways for her to freak you out. These things can move on their own, speak using her voice, and pop up anywhere. Imagine going to grab a midnight snack and finding Billy the puppet just chilling on your kitchen counter. I'd scream louder than a white girl at her first concert. The local mortician explains that he survived seeing Mary as a kid only because he was too scared to make a sound. Great advice, except it's like telling someone who's fallen off a cliff to just stop falling. Good luck with that when you're staring at a ghost who literally has your dead uncle's voice coming out of a wooden puppet's mouth. The real nightmare fuel comes at the end of the movie. Jamie thinks he's beaten Mary Shaw by burning her favorite puppet, Billy, but then he discovers that his dad has been dead the whole time. The dad he's been talking to was actually his dad's corpse, turned into a human ventriloquist dummy controlled by Mary Shaw's perfect doll, Ella. So even the people you think you know might not be people at all, just puppets with Mary pulling the strings. Trust issues? Yeah, this ventriloquist is gonna give you PTSD. Think about it. In most horror movies, you can fight back somehow. Vampires grab some garlic and a stick. Zombies aim for the head. But Mary Shaw, you can't fight what makes you scream, and you can't run from something that can appear in any reflection or shadow. Even if you destroyed all of her dolls, which good luck with that, she's already turned actual humans into puppets. The perfect doll in human form is literally indistinguishable from a real person until it's too late. But if you think murderous ventriloquist dolls are a bizarre threat, hold on to your seat, because our next horror scenario takes something even more innocent. A mythical creature that poops rainbows and eats butterflies and turns it into a vengeful killing machine. Let's dive into Death of the Unicorn, where those majestic creatures with sparkly horns from your Lisa Frank folders turn out to be the most efficient killing machines in the horror universe. The movie starts simple enough. Lawyer Elliot and his teenage daughter Ridley accidentally hit and kill a unicorn foal on their way to a rich client's mansion. Instead of reporting it like you would with a regular deer, because who would believe them anyway, they hide the body. First mistake in any horror movie, hiding the body never works out. What they don't realize is that unicorns aren't just pretty horses with pointy headgear. They're actually apex predators with parents who will hunt you down for revenge. Turns out those gorgeous horns aren't for decoration. They're ornate blades designed specifically for gutting humans who mess with their babies. It's like finding out Bambi's dad has a very particular set of skills and will find you. The situation gets way worse when the greedy Leopold family, who are the definition of rich people with no survival skills, discovers that the dead unicorn has magical properties they could exploit. These wealthy idiots are the type who try to sell hand sanitizer during the pandemic for a 500% markup. Their mansion is in the middle of nowhere, so when the vengeful unicorn parents show up, there's nowhere to run. Think about it. How would you fight a unicorn? You can't exactly Google how to defeat magical horse with a sword on its head. These creatures don't exist in our world, so we have no idea what their weaknesses might be. Silver bullets, holy water, a strongly worded letter, nothing in your survival kit prepares you for this. The isolation makes everything worse. You're in a remote mansion with a bunch of entitled rich people who think money solves everything. Spoiler alert, your platinum credit card won't stop a unicorn from fucking staking you through the heart. The Leopold family, especially their petty son Shepard, makes decisions that would make even horror movie teenagers say, that's a stupid idea. The real kicker is how unprepared humans are for magical threats. We've spent centuries believing unicorns are gentle creatures who poop rainbows and grant wishes. No one ever told us they're actually vengeful killing machines who hold grudges. It's like finding out Santa Claus has been monitoring your behavior, not to bring presents, but to decide when to strike. Even if you somehow survive the unicorn attack, you're still stuck with the Leopold family, who are so disconnected from reality, they probably think budget is a French word for some kind of cheese. Their greed and stupidity turn what might have been a manageable crisis into a complete bloodbath. It's like being in a sinking boat with people who keep drilling more holes to let the water out. The wild part is, by movie standards, this isn't even the least survivable scenario we're covering today, because at least unicorn attacks aren't contagious. For our final nightmare, we're looking at a fungal outbreak that turns humans into click-happy zombie mushrooms with an evolutionary advantage humans can't overcome. Let's talk about The Last of Us, where a mutated cordyceps fungus decides humans look like a tasty upgrade from its usual ant buffet. The infection starts simply. You get bit, and within hours, you're a violent fungal-controlled puppet whose only goal is spreading the infection. What makes this scenario truly impossible to survive is how the infected evolve over time. They start as runners, basically rage zombies on steroids who can still see and hear. Bad enough, right? But wait, it gets worse. After a few weeks, they evolve into stalkers, who hide and ambush you. A few months later, they become clickers, blind monsters who use echolocation to find you. They sound like someone's grandpa trying to use Siri for the first time, except instead of frustration, you get your face eaten off. Then the final boss form, bloaters. These fungal tanks are covered in armor plates and can rip your jaw off like you're opening a stubborn bag of chips. The infected literally have an evolutionary advantage for every situation. They can run, hide, echolocate, or tank damage depending on what stage they're in. It's like playing a video game where the enemies keep leveling up, but you're stuck with a plastic stork as your same weapon. The really terrifying part is the cordyceps network. In the show, the infected are connected underground through fungal threads. Step on a mushroom in Pittsburgh, and infected in Philadelphia know about it. It's like fungal Facebook, but instead of your aunt sharing conspiracy theories, you get a horde of clickers showing up at your doorstep. Even if you somehow avoid the infected, good luck with everything else. 20 years after society collapses, resources are scarce, buildings are crumbling death traps, nature is reclaiming cities. Even a simple cut or broken bone could kill you without proper medical care. I get a paper cut and act like I'm dying now. Now imagine if there were no hospitals around. But the real cherry on top of this fungal sundae that we're having for breakfast? Other humans. In The Last of Us, the government remnant Fedra establishes quarantine zones that are basically military dictatorships. Outside the QZs, you've got rebel groups like the Fireflies, territorial revolutionaries like Kathleen's group in Kansas City, and literal cannibals like David's community. At least the infected just want to spread the fungus. Humans want your supplies, your loyalty, or your meat for dinner. The truly depressing part? There's no cure, no end in sight. Infected don't age or die naturally. They just keep spreading unless someone takes them out. Even if you found a safe community like Jackson, Wyoming, you're always one raid or infected horde away from losing everything. So next time you confidently declare, I'd survive that zombie apocalypse, remember, these aren't shambling, brain-dead zombies. They're fungal evolutionary marvels connected through a biological network, and they're only half the problem in a world where humans have decided basic decency died along with Instagram. So there you have 7 different horror movies that you definitely couldn't survive. Do you think you can survive any of these? Let me know down in the comments, and like and subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this. And if you want to watch another one of these videos, click the video on screen now.